This video will introduce you to the trigonometric ratios for right triangles and the phrase Soh Cah Toa. If you were given the following similar triangles, could you find the length of AB? You could by using proportions. Set the proportions up so that you line up corresponding sides and triangle size. So 34 over 78 equals 17 over the missing length AB. To solve, cross-multiply, simplify, and solve to get AB is equal to 39. What about if you were only given triangle ABC? Could you still solve for AB? Do you have enough information? You can no longer use proportions, but you can solve for AB using trigonometry. What does trigonometry mean? Trigonometry defines the relationship between the sides and angles of a triangle. A triangle has 6 parts, 3 sides, and 3 angles. Trigonometry provides us with ratios between the angles and sides of a triangle. In a right triangle, there are 3 important trigonometric ratios called sine, cosine, and tangent. The sine of x is equal to the length of the opposite side divided by the length of the hypotenuse. The cosine of x is equal to the length of the adjacent side divided by the length of the hypotenuse. And the tangent is equal to the length of the opposite side divided by the length of the adjacent side. If you take the first letter of each word in the equations, you get an important phrase. Soh Cah Toa. Soh Cah Toa can be used to help you remember how to set up these trigonometric ratios. One common mistake to solving these ratios is misidentifying which side is adjacent to the angle and which side is opposite the angle. The word adjacent means next to, and opposite means across from. For angle X, the red side is adjacent or next to it, and the green side is opposite or across from it. What about for angle Y? Now which sides are adjacent and opposite? The side next to it is adjacent, which would be the green side, and the side across from it, or the red side, is opposite. Notice that opposite and adjacent sides are in relation to the angle you are looking at and can change from problem to problem. Let's go back to the original triangle to see if we can solve for side AB using trigonometry instead of proportions. Which trigonometric ratio do you think would solve for the missing side? First, make a list of everything you have. You have angle X is equal to 30 degrees, you have a hypotenuse of 78, and you're looking for the side opposite the angle. The trigonometric ratio that includes both the opposite side and the hypotenuse is the sine. Fill in what you know. Multiply both sides by 78. Solve 78 sine 30 by using your calculator to get that AB is equal to 39. 39 is the same value you got when you solved for it using similar triangles and proportions at the start of the video. Try the following problem. Find the measure of angle X. First, list what is given to figure out which trigonometric ratio to use. Which side do you have, the adjacent or opposite? Since 15 is next to the angle X, it's the adjacent side. You also have the hypotenuse, which is 30, and X is unknown. Since you have the adjacent side and the hypotenuse, use the cosine to solve for X. Fill in the values for the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. Then simplify. To solve for X, you need to take the inverse of the cosine. There is a button on your calculator that has cosine with an exponent of -1. This is the inverse cosine button. Press that button to take the inverse of cosine of 1/2. The answer gives you that the value of X is equal to 60 degrees. Try another problem. Solve for X and Y. For X, you have the side opposite and the side adjacent. Looking at the list of trigonometric functions, the only one with both opposite and adjacent is tangent. Plug in 5 for the opposite side and 11 for the adjacent side. To get X by itself, take the inverse tangent of 5 over 11. To get X is equal to 24.4 degrees. How about Y? In this triangle, 62 is the opposite side from the angle and y is the hypotenuse. The trigonometric ratio with opposite and hypotenuse is sine. In this case, x is 28 degrees. Plug in 28 for x, 62 for opposite, and y for the hypotenuse. Multiply both sides by y, divide both sides by the sine of 28, and solve to get that y is equal to 132.1 units long. Trigonometry is helpful for performing indirect measurements. For example, imagine you measure the shadow of a tall building. You find that it's 100 feet long and makes a 50-degree angle with the ground. What is the height of the building? Do you have enough information to solve the problem? You have an angle which is 50 degrees, a side adjacent to the angle which is 100 feet, and you're looking for the side opposite the angle. Which trigonometric ratio has both adjacent and opposite sides? Think of Soh Cah Toa. Which one has opposite and adjacent? The only one with both is Toa, which refers to tangent. Fill in 50 for the angle and 100 for the adjacent side. Multiply both sides by 100 and solve to find that the height of the building is 119.2 feet. In review, trigonometry defines the relationship between the sides and angles of a triangle. The trigonometric ratios of sine, cosine, and tangent can be used to solve right triangles. Happy solving!